There's been many rumors flying around the Pittsburgh Steelers about trading or getting a big-time wide receiver in free agency, the draft, or via trade. And now another wide receiver has come up in the rumors. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers are now being linked to Houston Texans wide receiver John Metchie III. But before I get more into this video, these rumors, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you never miss out on Pittsburgh Steelers rumors, news, and updates. Also like the video. Let's get right back into it. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they really only have George Pickens and Kwon Austin at the wide receiver spot from last season. They've signed some couple guys in free agency this offseason, like Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins, but the position still needs to be addressed, whether it's via draft, free agency, or the trade market. And all the rumors this offseason have been the Pittsburgh Steelers being linked to some big time names, and maybe they make a move there. Well, now an opportunity has come up, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are back in the rumors. So, we all know Stefon Diggs. He was actually just traded to the Houston Texans this offseason, and his contract is huge, meaning that the Houston Texans now have around 3 number 1 wide receivers, and they may be looking to offload somebody else to save money, or just because there's not enough space on their roster for all these guys that they have. So, looking at the Houston Texans roster right now at the wide receiver position, they have Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, John Metchie III, and Noah Brown. And not all of these guys could play. So why wouldn't the Texans try getting some value back for one of these players, maybe 2 of them, or maybe just save money so they could spend it somewhere else on their roster to upgrade somewhere else. And that's maybe what they'll do. And that's been the rumors recently surrounding them, that maybe John Metchie or Noah Brown gets traded. And John Metchie III has been the one linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, one of the reasons why, like I said, the Houston Texans would even make a trade and trade away one of these guys, even though they're all talented, is because only 3 of them could really see the field at a time. Unless they're going 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, which more than likely is not going to be the case, because they do have a good tight end as well in Dalton Schultz. So, why would you have all these guys on the roster? You just gave up a 2nd round pick for Stefon Diggs. So if you could get a 4th, 3rd, maybe 5th round pick back for one of these players, why wouldn't you do it? Save money to spend somewhere else, but also get some draft compensation back since you just gave up some for Stefon Diggs. So looking at John Metchie III, like I said, he has been linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers in recent days since the Stefon Diggs trade has happened. And if the Steelers are still interested in adding a receiver prior to the 2024 NFL Draft, Metchie might be a solid, very solid option to trade at a very low cost. So he was selected in the 44th pick in the 2nd round in the 2022 NFL Draft. He missed the entire year due to a sudden leukemia diagnosis, but then he returned in 2023 and contributed 16 catches for 158 yards. So he's not going to be a bona fide stud coming in right away, and his production isn't there. He was drafted in the 2nd round, but he's kind of not played in a while, and his production just has not been there because of the diagnosis that he was going through and just kind of the position that he had on the Texans depth chart. So if the Steelers were to trade for him, it's not like it would cost a lot, and the Texans wouldn't be getting that much back. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they want a number 2 wide receiver next to George Pickens, someone with a lot of upside to pair nicely with Pickens, he would be the guy. And after the breakout seasons from Collins, Dell, Metchie was sort of the kind of hung there to dry and wasn't really given the opportunity to come back from his diagnosis to play a lot of snaps. Yes, you need production in this league to get paid. You need production in this league to be that number 2 wide receiver. But sometimes you just need the opportunity. And he just was not given the opportunity because the other guys that were over here performing really well. So it makes sense to why they would maybe want to trade him away or offload him and get some compensation back. With the addition of Diggs, it's even possible that he could request a trade at some point because there's just no way he's going to see the playing field. There's maybe Robert Woods would be the 4th receiver. He would be the 5th receiver on the team. Noah Brown, maybe 6. You never know. He may even not even make the roster just because of how loaded they are at the wide receiver position with all those guys on the team. So why wouldn't they offload him? He also, looking at through the process behind it, he's looking to get his career on track after he was dealt a tough hand with his diagnosis, injuries, and stuff like that. Due to a torn ACL, he did not participate in the 2022 NFL Scouting Combine, but he does have the speed that could lead him to running a low 4.40 or maybe 4.3 dash time. He was a standout at the University of Alabama during his junior season. He secured 96 catches, 1,142 yards, and 8 touchdowns in his final collegiate season. He hasn't had a true chance, like I said, to blossom in NFL just yet, and a change of scenery could be exactly what he needs to get his career back on track. Based on his lack of serious production, the Texans' asking price for him couldn't be overwhelmingly very high. It would probably be even lower than we thought. Omar Khan has shown the willingness to make aggressive moves since he has took over as the general manager, and willing to trade for guys who were once looked at as top prospects or maybe ruled out. He has been shown to kind of maybe be more aggressive than our past general manager. So Houston is unlikely to keep all their receivers intact after the Diggs trade. So inquiring about a guy like Metchie makes all the sense in the world. There aren't enough passes to go around in Houston. Metchie might be the odd man out, so it presents a kind of a low risk, high reward type of move for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they do look for this kind of trade, and for Omar Khan. The Pittsburgh Steelers have yet to really show a clear path to what they're going to be doing at the wide receiver position. It looks as though they were not able to get their top free agent. Mark Kaboly, Gary Dulac, all those guys were basically saying that Mike Williams was the Pittsburgh Steelers' top option as a free agent wide receiver, and they were just not able to get him. Obviously, he ended up signing right away with the New York Jets. So having Mike Williams not be the receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, their top option gone, they had to pivot somewhere else, and the way that they pivoted was getting Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins on the team, but those guys really don't solidify anything at the wide receiver spot. Those guys still leave gap spaces, because when you look at Van Jefferson, what number wide receiver was he when he was with the Rams? Well, he was kind of like the 3rd, 4th wide receiver when he was with the Rams. And then you look at Van Jefferson with the Falcons, what number wide receiver was he with the Falcons? He was the 4th wide receiver on their team. You look at Quez Watkins, what number wide receiver was he? He was like the 5th, kind of the low end option for the Philadelphia Eagles. So picking up these guys on the roster really don't solidify anything. Looking at what Kelvin Austin was last season with the Steelers, what number wide receiver was he on the team? Well, he was the number 4 wide receiver on the team. He was sometimes seeing number 3 snaps, but barely. He was the number 4 wide receiver on the roster and just mainly the punt returner. So now having a roster of having George Pickens moving from number 2 to number 1 wide receiver, and having a whole gap space at number 2, number 3 wide receiver on the roster, and having a fill in and a slot in Kelvin Austin, slot in Van Jefferson, slot in Quez Watkins, Marquise Callaway, whoever they have on the roster, having to slot them up and move them up the depth chart just isn't a good idea. But obviously, playing time will show what they could really do. And over time, we're going to see what the Pittsburgh Steelers' actual plan is at the wide receiver spot. There's still free agents out there, like Tyler Boyd, but those rumors, those talks apparently have fell apart in terms of contract agreements. They can't agree on the number of years, the number of money that he would be getting. So those contract talks that fell apart per Pittsburgh Steelers insiders. There's also other guys out there like Odell Beckham Jr., but looks like it won't happen because he looks like he's going to be going to the Miami Dolphins per the rumors there as well. So there's other wide receivers out there available, but more than likely, it'll just have to be addressed during the draft, unless a trade does happen in which the Steelers try to train for someone. As remember last year, as we're getting to training camp, mini camp, OTA, stuff like that, the Steelers did make a move for wide receiver. If you remember, they traded for Allen Robinson, and right away, he became their number 3 wide receiver. So maybe a move like this is made where the Steelers trade for a wide receiver again, give up a 7th round, 6th round, 5th round pick, whatever it is, get a wide receiver and slot them in right away at the number 3, number 2 spot, as they did last season, in which they did for Allen Robinson. So it's not like the Steelers haven't traded for a wide receiver in the past. They've had, and maybe that's what they have to do once again to fill in the voids that are left on the roster from the Deontay Johnson trade. Since the Deontay Johnson move, they kind of helped both sides. Omar Khan said they got the cornerback that they wanted. The Panthers got the wide receiver that they wanted, but there's still the hole at the wide receiver spot now that has to be filled. So John Metchie III, he's been linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers ever since the Stephon Diggs trade, kind of pushed him back in the depth chart. There's going to be no space for him on the field. Those guys are going to be playing almost 100% of the snaps. So John Metchie III may be on the trading block for the Texans if they could get some value back for him. It may be better than getting nothing in return and having him just on the sideline the whole game. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have been linked to him. And let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this topic. What do you want the Steelers to trade for him? Or do you believe they should go looking in a different area, maybe trade for a different wide receiver? And if you want them to trade for a different wide receiver, who would it be? Also, let me know your top options in this year's NFL draft. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on notifications so you never miss out on Pittsburgh Steelers news, rumors, updates, everything like that through free agency, the draft coming up. Also, like the video. But until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.